It is the festive special, and we have cooked up something a little extra special. We are doubling down on guests here this week with two very big announcements. They are both Bass Fishing Hall of Fame inductees. The great Tommy Sanders and Mark Zona join me this week on...
I'm Bob Cobb from the Bassmaster. Welcome to Mercer.
Welcome one, welcome all, friends, family, freeloaders, fishing freaks, and of course, my humpers. Welcome into the Awkwardly Honest Fishing Podcast that goes by my last name, which is Mercer. This is the 192nd edition of the Mercer Podcast, and I hope wherever you are in the world, whether you're listening or watching this show, I hope life is treating you well. This past week, a crazy week in fishing, a lot of stories. Not that I'm not going to talk about those, but I'm going to leave it till we have a guest on the show that's connected to some of that, because there's plenty of podcasts and internet things talking about that. And this is a time of celebration. I mean, it's a busy time of year, and we're 7 days away from Christmas, which means I am 6 days away from starting Christmas shopping. But it's a busy time. I mean, podcasts need to be made. Tomorrow's a big day for me. It's my birthday, so I'm looking forward to that. Got big plans. Another thing that I'm really excited about is you guys, the fine humpers that support everything that I do on this channel, and I'm so thankful for you. Byron Velvick, a great guest last week. Love having him on here. So many incredible stories. We're already planning a show in the new year. But one of the things that he promoted is Byron's Bunker, where he's selling a bunch of cool tackle and things that are a mega deal, but also some historical stuff, some really cool stuff. And it's Byron's Bunker on eBay. He said on the show, if you tell him you're a humper and you make a purchase, he'll throw a little extra something. He called me after the show and he was amazed at the amount of you that reached out. So thank you. Thank you. That truly makes a difference. When you support a guest after they're on the show, that makes them just want to come back on here more. When you support a sponsor, when you reach out, when you send a message and you say, thanks for supporting the show that I love, it truly makes a big difference. So check it out and check out this, because he's put on some new items. And I told you he's got some historical stuff. One of the coolest things ever, a 2006 Mike Iaconelli signed jersey, almost 20 years old. That jersey is from his Angler of the Year season, and it is flamed out, embroidered. For the youthful viewers, embroidery was something that used to happen before sublimated shirts, but it is prime Iaconelli. It is a beautiful shirt, and it is signed. It's a cool piece of bass fishing memorabilia, and if you jump on there and bid, you may or may not be bidding against me, because I'd like to have it. It's very, very cool. We're going to have a fun show. Got a lot to celebrate. Incredible guests with an incredible announcement. But before we get into that, I just want to take a moment and talk about what we're all going to experience in the next week. I mean, it is the festive season. It's about family. It's about being together. It's about shutting down and focusing on what really matters. And that is a tremendous thing. I mean, everybody's excited about it. I mean, you don't have to look far to see people are excited about it. But also, when things are not going well in your life, it also can be a very, very tough time. And because there's no distraction. There's no going to work. You're focused on your family. Well, if tough things are happening, that makes it even tougher. And one of our longtime viewers, I believe he's watched since day number one. I'm not going to single him out by his name, but he's going through something tremendously tough. Basically every parent's nightmare. And I don't know how you recover from it. I don't know. There is no words that I could express towards him and his family. But I just want to say, I'm thinking about you and we're praying for you. I mean, thoughts and prayers is the most overused analogy there is. If you're a Pat McAfee fan, he says T's and P's, but I'm sending them out to you guys. And not just that individual. I'm sure there's several people watching this show and they want to watch it as a distraction, but we're thinking about people that are dealing with tough things. And I hope that helps ease the burden a little bit. And as a group, I would encourage you all to think about those people. Think about and keep it in mind when you're running in and out of stores and people are butting in front of each other. Rather than throwing the bird up, I don't need to show it. You don't know what's going on in somebody's car. You don't know where somebody's driving from or driving to and what they're dealing with. So let's try be a little kinder this festive season. Speaking of being kind, something we started earlier this month is making it rain prizes for you guys because you're such incredible supporters. And this past weekend's winner, they won themselves this bad boy right here. I showed it to you guys last week. It is a Plano Edge soft plastic organizer, jam-packed with Berkeley baits. Well over $300 value right there. Our winner this week. I'm told we can have drum rolls. So if it doesn't work, it's not my fault, but drum roll, please. Is Hooked on Halliburton. Hooked on Halliburton. You will win that prize pack. I will reach out to you. Congratulations. Hopefully you're listening and hear this before we even reach out to you, because it's even better that way. And thank you for your support. We will be in touch. DM me on Instagram and give me your mailing address, because most people don't want to put their address on a public forum, and I understand that. DM me on Instagram. I will get you that prize pack. Congratulations. Thank you for your support. And once again, we reached that point where you're like, I didn't win. I never win. Well, there's more opportunities. First of all, we got a cool contest going with BKK right now. BKK Hooks. Earlier this month, I gave away that OCD box. We're giving away another one. If you go over to Instagram, you'll see my post. It's from last Friday. It ends this coming Friday, December 20th. And all you got to do is this. It's a simple Instagram contest. You go to like my account. You have to like the BKK account. My account is factsoffishing. And you have to tag 3 friends. And we're going to randomly draw and give away one of those boxes, making the festive season oh so much more festive. And again, you're thinking, I didn't win. Well, no, you're not thinking that, because nobody's won that yet. But there is another big contest here on the podcast. And this one, it's the end of the year. It's got to be a mega prize. We got a Plano Edge box. This is actually the line keeper. It's a really cool setup, but I've got it buried in baits. Look at how many baits you got in there. I got all sorts of Berkeley baits, some BKK hooks, a Avco microfiber cloth, which I have them all over my boat, a pair of Costas. So you got sunglasses, you got the Plano Edge box. That thing's worth over $500, that whole package right there. And all you have to do is like, comment, and subscribe. You need to like this video, you need to comment on this video, and you need to be subscribed to this channel. And, of course, you need to include something in the comments. And I'm going to go, because it's a multi-pack this week, I'm just going to go with Humper. That'll be fun. Just make sure Humper is somewhere in your comments. You make your comment, just put Humper at the end. You can include Humper in your comment. Some of you are very, very creative. I love all of you fine Humpers, and I look forward to giving that away. That will be given away on January 1st, which is our next show. We do not have a show next Wednesday because it is Christmas, and it's the only day I take off. It's the only week we take off from the podcast all year long. Which is amazing to me. 192 episodes. Basically been at this for 4 years. And the way it continues to grow and everything is truly, truly amazing. So thank you all. Make sure you enter this week's contest. Let's blow up the comments. Last week, I think we had 800 or 900 comments. Let's blow it up. Let's get over a G. Let's get over a G in comments. Over 1,000. Translation for you. And then I'm also going to do a bonus prize. I'm not showing it to you right here, but for our streamers. And I thank all of you that have come over from streaming services and commented on YouTube. Keep that up. I mean, watch it on all platforms. I am thankful for every single watch. But if you put a review on Spotify, you put a review on Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening to your podcast, if you comment, we will go through those comments over the festive season, and we will have a double winner, another big prize. So make sure you blow up those reviews, the ratings, and everything on the streaming services. All of that, as I always say, to stroke the algorithm. If you stroke the algorithm, this show will continue to come. If you don't, well, I mean, I'm still going to just do it, please. So this is our final show of the year, and I wanted, it's our festive special. We always try to do something a little extra special, and I think this year we have knocked it out of the park. We have two amazing guests with a very, very exciting announcement. And they're two of my best friends. I mean, they are, when I started at Bass, they were, I mean, if it wasn't for Zona, there's no way I get the job at Bass. But they have given so much to me personally, but given so much to all of us. And what I mean by that is they are this generation's Bob Cobb or Ray Scott. They are the voice that narrates all those amazing Bassmaster moments. And the world kind of came to a screeching halt earlier this year when Zona announced his retirement. But I'm happy to reunite the tandem that literally is in people's dreams. I mean, you know what I'm saying. You hear people come to the Elite Series and they're like, I'm excited to hear Tommy and Zona talk about me because they're just that voice. They're incredible people, incredible friends, and they truly are the gift that keeps on giving. The one and only Tommy Sanders and Mark Zona. It is the season of giving, and I could think of no better way to give back to the fine folks that tune in here each and every week, and I am so thankful for all of you than giving you the gift that keeps on giving. Tommy Sanders and Mark Zona, the greatest broadcast tandem in outdoors media history. Maybe, and I would put you right up there with, I mean, I would love to, I've said it a million times, I'd love to see you two do Monday Night Football. Anything but welcome. How are you boys doing?
Fantastic.
Good, Dave. Thank you. Thanks for what a weighty intro there. I don't know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are pretty, I mean, I don't think you guys realize what you have. I mean, I said it about Zona at the Hall of Fame, and I truly mean it. You guys are two rare people who, when you say words, the words get louder, the pictures get brighter. I mean, you guys painted, I don't think you know the impact that you've had on people over the years. Do you have any idea?
I know the impact Z has because, I mean, the people just follow him around like he's, Moses or something like that.
It really does. It really does have some people. Yeah.
So I know the impact. I'm not sure about mine, but I'm happy to play the role of the setup guy for the man himself right up there.
You know, Dave, what's strange about it, and I've talked to you about this. I've talked to Tommy about this a long time. General just communication and chemistry it's a hard thing to find. It's a very, very hard thing to find. But what has been, this sounds really strange to go into this, but when Tommy and I started working together, that was back and I texted you this actually this morning. That was way back in the ESPN days. And I was used to working when I started at JM. I was working with Tommy, Mike McInnes, and Jerry McInnes. But then I don't want to say that we were like the Chicago Bears of recent, but I thought Tommy and I had some potential together. But we had, when we would go on to certain classics and certain majors, I think we had some bad coaching, which I think was good for us. I think it was good for
because
us.
Learning what not to do is sometimes as important as learning what to do.
I believe that.
I saw that they posted a thing on you and Bassmaster.com, Z, on the occasion of your, stepping back and everything like that. And they had a piece of video. I don't know if you saw this, of the very first time we were on camera together for the Bassmasters, doing the posted show for the Bassmasters. And it was surprising. It seemed surprisingly comfortable, which
Yes.
is really, from my experience, not a common occurrence for the first time two
No.
people work together.
No, eerily similar to doing this with Dave. There's always like some awkwardness throughout most of the thing. So, no, and that's genuinely
I take it as a compliment. I really do.
it's genuinely true. Like, listen, I just did, Dave. I talked to you about this. I just did a video, a piece for Humminbird, and the person that I was doing some of the the features of. You either have chemistry with somebody or you do not, and it's not something you can. What I've learned, and I know I don't want to speak for Tommy on this, is, man, it either just kind of works and flows or it just doesn't. And what's strange is I really enjoy when it doesn't, because it gets into a very awkward pausing situation and nobody knowing what the hell to say. And I've never, it's strange. Tommy's like that college roommate I never had, where you kind of know exactly what he's thinking and what he wants to do for the evening. And you don't even need to, it's just very strangely natural.
It really helps to have someone who's as demented as you are.
Well, I appreciate that.
To bounce back.
Right.
But that story you just told, Z, I can relate a similar story. Back in the earlier days when I would host ESPN Outdoors. There's sometimes be guests on there, and sometimes for other projects you had to do interviews with guys. And this was with a very top level figure in a major American sport. And a very nice guy, and he's now in broadcasting. I think he does more radio than anything. But I did the interview with, and the way of not connecting, he was super to talk to in person, driving around in the car and everything. But we would do an on camera a two shot, as they say, us talking to each other.
Right.
And I would look at him, and he would be looking at an object. He'd be right there, but he'd looking at an object, like 45 degrees away. He could not look at me while we were doing the thing. And I thought, that is so odd. That is so strange. And it worked anyway. And I say he was a super nice guy, but that was really odd. It's hard to work that way.
Did he look at you when you were like casually talking?
No, yeah, when we were casually talking right around the
okay.
corner, no problem at all. It was just the on camera. He got in a mindset that I can't be distracted by this person's face looking at me.
The next time we work together, I'm going to start looking off to the northeast and zero eye contact and weirdness.
And I'll freak out probably.
Oh,
what was day one? I mean, you guys, as you said, it looked remarkably comfortable on camera. But Tommy, you went from previous to Z. Jerry McInnes was hosting the Bassmasters with you, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's a big difference in personalities.
I would think
it is. It was a little more laid back, I think, with Jerry. But Jerry still, had great energy and everything like that. But it was just a different thing. It was Jerry was the same Jerry you knew from the fishing hole and from 30 years ago. Yeah. So it was definitely different. And but I was just shocked by Mark Zona, how great he was. I mean, first time he'd ever done anything like that. You've been working with Jay and the gang on the Bass Feud.
Yeah.
What was the name of the show?
Bass Feud.
Bass Feud is fine.
Okay,
Feud
is
just
quite fitting for this year, really.
Yeah, exactly.
So did you ever see that? So there was never a timid Zona. Like when he came in, did you see nerves, or was he just this?
No,
Zona
not at all.
Like,
I mean,
I've never seen that.
The first time we met you, you'd met us in Connecticut to do a thing at the ESPN studios, and you didn't know us. And we pulled into the parking lot at the same time, and I saw you, but I wasn't totally sure it was you because you.
I had a skull cap on.
Huh?
Yeah, I had a skull cap on.
Yeah, you did. You did have a skull cap.
Of course.
Right
So I
on.
was a little, and I think we are both a little bit, tentative during that day, which is a weird deal. I can't even remember what it was, though. It was pretty strange, but
Yes.
it was, I don't know what it was. But anyway, it was so different when we could actually sit down in the room and work together on
Yeah.
the shows. It was just so great.
I guess one of the most bizarre things was, and Tommy, I've told you this. You were and are, take our working relationship aside. You were Al Michaels, Joe Buck, Vin Scully, all wrapped into one before I started work there. Just because I was an FLW tournament show addict. You know that. I mean,
Yeah,
I've talked
yeah.
to you about that at length. I would burn VHS cassette tapes out watching that. Um, and then when I came to that first show, I thought I completely sucked. And I remember coming home and telling Karen, hey, at least we could tell the kids when they grow up. I got to host the Bassmaster one time with Tommy Sanders. That was really kick ass. And um, I may not have shown it. I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. I was as terrified the first one as I was the first day of Bassmaster Live at Lake Hartwell. Those were the two most terrifying days, I believe, of my tenure. Was the first day of work and then the first day of Bassmaster
It
Live.
never came across. I can promise you, it never came across. Of course, I was terrified too.
Yeah,
Both of those
absolutely.
days, absolutely.
We've had several of those days, friend. Several of those, and like I said, looking back, and I mean this. I know it was hard, but we don't talk about this on camera a lot. There were some. What if you? This is one thing that I talked to Dave about, was if you remember all the way back to the dungeon of Birmingham, right?
Good
The
Morning
dungeon.
Montgomery. Yes, yes. I
Good
remember.
morning,
That's what we
Montgomery.
called our show. Yeah.
And, and these were some of there was that tournament. There was a couple different majors. I remember one major that was in Texas where you'd be on the set and you're losing your mind
Oh
with
yeah.
with some of the folks that we were working with at the time. And I remember, Dave, this is no joke. I would look at Tommy halfway through the day taping and go, "Have you ever been through anything like this?" And before it would get out of my mouth, he would go, "No."
No.
And I'm like, all right. All right. Well, maybe this is helping us doing it together, maybe. And I do. I believe it did,
Oh
Tommy.
sure.
I don't I it was almost like tragic to magic, to the way it sort of started. So,
Yeah. Oh, definitely. That kind of stuff makes you stronger because you just start. Your brain starts to figure out pathways where you'll never get put in that position again. If only for that reason, it's valuable beyond compare. It's
yes.
so true.
Why did you refer to that one classic as the dungeon?
Because we were shooting in the basement of a hotel, a convention hotel that had supposedly its own television equipment, but it was very small and very cramped and very,
Painful.
very claustrophobic. And we were locked in there all day. We had no video coming from the lake, being the technology, the state of the technology. This was before live any of this kind of stuff, and you just were, they'd be piecing some things. The people in the truck were piecing things together, and then they'd say, "Okay, we're ready to roll for you. Hey, get 3, 2." That was the warning you got, and make it work right. And it was,
But we didn't even know what the hell we were going to look at.
had no idea what we were going to look at,
And it was
where it was going. Or
yes,
what the score was at this time, what the actual situation was.
yes. But I'll tell you. So
But
there
make
was
it good.
right. So there was basically 3 days of just total random fish catches. So you would try to create a story about not knowing what you were talking about. What are you looking at, or what are you talking about? But the over the top, the gas on the fire to me was when it was the tournament where Gerald Swindle got penalized. That he ought not to done that with Randy Howell,
Yeah.
right? And we because it was back in the ESPN time era, we replayed that 317 times in the better side of, I'm going to say, 90 minutes, right? And finally, Tommy could see that my rev limiter was starting to peak, and the executive producer from ESPN, so, his name was Patrick Kavanaugh. he was a dandy, and
All right.
and I said I can't I can't I can't I can't talk about it anymore. We've just covered it. We covered it literally. Tommy, you tell me. We covered it 20 times in 30 minutes, and I said I can't do this anymore. I don't even know what the penalty. Then we just had no info.
But
We
yeah,
got a
but he wanted you. He wanted you to call somebody out. He wanted you to
yes.
take someone to task and just completely be judge and jury right there. And I could tell that was what made you super uncomfortable.
Yes, he wanted me to absolutely hang Daryl Swindle.
Yeah.
And I said, whoa, I don't know the context of this. I don't know the context of what distance. I don't know the context of a penalty. I know nothing. I'm looking at a dude driving a boat fast. That's what I'm looking at. And his exact words were, "You're paid to give an opinion, and you'll give one now."
That's
Like,
not an exaggeration. That is
boats
not.
go fast. Boats
Oh,
go
oh
fast.
my goodness.
Oh my God, this is
Yeah.
traumatizing talking about it.
It's therapy. It's therapy. It's good to get it out there. So you referred to you guys as a tandem. You thought you had some potential, but you said we were like the Bears. So was that your Matt Eberflus, or who was your Matt Eberflus on the way up?
It was all those, but at least for me. I am speaking for Tommy. There was a couple. It was just, and there's another thing. There's that's a good question. There's also, besides having chemistry with the dude you're sitting next to, is Tom. Tommy and I would talk about the same BS when we would get off camera as we would on camera. So the other dynamic in there is the chemistry between us two and whoever is driving the bus.
Yeah.
And the really, for at least me, the who's the Kansas City coach? What's his name?
Andy Reid,
Andy
the
Reid.
great Andy Reid.
The great Andy Reid, for me at least, is the
What's
dynamic
his name?
of Mike McInnes and Michael Middleton. That's really the glue behind the scenes to make that chemistry, I think, come out.
We're so fortunate to have people like the two you just mentioned there to work with. But you'll agree, as the more you cycle through these different outlets, these networks, and people that come and go producing you and everything, you'll find out that you might think it's just a Hollywood sort of invention. The stock producer sitting in the truck looking at three screens, and there's a guy fixing to jump off the Golden Gate Bridge, and he's going, good stuff, jump, 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 jump. Actually, there are a few people like that.
Yes.
We got to work with a couple of them through the years.
You guys had some incredible moments together. Do you refer to the pre-live days as the good old days, though? I mean,
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like taking a world you can control and trading it in for a world that is like
You cannot
chaotic. Yeah.
Yes.
But more immediate and more potentially way more engaging than a post show. Yeah.
I mean, am I a weirdo to say this, but is that part of the appeal of your job? Like, it wasn't, I mean, previous to live, there was taped stuff, which you could go back and, if you said something you didn't want to, you could re-record it, whatever. But is part of the appeal of what you guys have been able to do together, that tightrope that you walk on? Like that at any minute, like you don't ever stop to think about it, because if you do, you'd be in the ditch. But I think for what I get to do, it's definitely part of the appeal.
Oh yeah. And the best thing about it, when it's done, the event is done, you're done. You walk away from it. You don't have to mess with it anymore.
Yeah. That's hard because when Mercer, I've talked to you about this. Tommy and I would complain when we started doing live hits from tournaments, we would do live hits for 10 minutes, and then Mike extended it to 15, which created a lot of chaos with Tommy and I were like, wow, we're having to do 15 minutes.
For 15 minutes? You were part of it too, Dave.
Why don't we just go to 30 next time? But yeah, I think somewhere in there was and is, when you're not doing pre-produced content I think there's more of a rush of the unknown. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Not knowing. Look, it was very. We got to try to tell a story together while the story was unfolding in front of the viewer. And it took a little bit of time, I think, to understand. Just call. Tommy's best advice that he gave me many, many years ago, 2 decades ago, just tell us what just happened. Just tell us what just happened. Yeah, you have to fill it with, tangible info, but if you really tell us what just happened, and most of all, let it breathe. Let
Yeah.
it breathe. Let the first morning of the classic, let the silence be tense. Those are the things as time's gone on that I think Tommy and myself understood together. Another famous Tommy Sanders line: "Don't ever miss the opportunity to shut up." And knowing when that time is, and then knowing when, all right, now we got to fill some time here.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is we'll never have a the sport will be never one that you can buy a ticket and sit down and watch it take place live in front of you have to let those sounds and periods where people don't talk, play out in front of people because that's what so many of them can identify with and you may convince yourself that they really miss me talking, but they really don't.
Has it gotten harder to let it breathe in the last number of years? Just if I look at with the increase of cameras, the increase of, we got that many more people that are being covered, that many more features that need to be played out. Is that a battle on live now?
I'll let Tommy answer that.
Yeah, but the upside is so much more valuable when you got more cameras. You're more
Yeah,
likely going to have something
Yeah.
happening.
some
I mean,
juice.
you
Yep.
just can't watch a guy take his practice swing at golf for 30 minutes. Except in fishing, you sometimes get put into that a similar sort of equivalent situation. So yeah, the upside just far outweighs the downside of that.
Yeah, at the beginning, that's every once in a while I'll have people say, why don't you drive around and do the goofy stuff you used to do? And I'm like, because we have cameras that work now. Like back then,
Right.
I remember it would be like, just keep talking. And I'm like, well, I'm talking to this has nothing to do with the tournament. But we had no cameras that, at the beginning. What did we start with? Like 4 cameras and then generally
Yes.
only.
4 cameras for 3 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
you got 10 and a lot more reliable too. Like
Oh yeah, the signal,
when it
the infrastructure is way better. Yeah.
was that the most terrifying day for you guys, the day
Yeah.
one of live,
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
than
For
ESPN, more than Fox, any of that stuff that it's done.
Well, from the standpoint of going into a classic production and really none of us knowing what was coming the next day. You know what I mean? It was more I guess when a camera, I think the first camera that popped up, I think it was Casey Ashley, is to see a camera that popped up and a dude actually casting live. It was more there. It was a sense of relief of, wow, look at
It
that.
worked.
Yeah.
It worked. And granted, a lot of it back then, besides that first day, going past that first day, I know you were driving when Bassmaster Live went live that day, and you also knew that that was a turning point in how this would be consumed. You, like I said, I used to burn out VHS tapes. I would have been a Bassmaster Live junkie if I could be at work, or all my buddies now watch it when they're out fishing a tournament. They'll just click it on live and just listen to it all day, not even visually look at it, just listen to it. But you knew, uh, also I give Mike McInnes, Bowman, that whole group at JM, and I'm not. This is just factual. I give them a huge amount of credit for rolling the dice and just saying, all right, let's flip the switch. Now, with that being said, let me tap into something else. And this took Tommy and myself a very long time to learn. Is every mic is hot.
Yeah.
I think there was one time in the JM cafeteria, somebody ran in and they're like, mics are hot, and somebody posted a comment, wow, the show's better during commercial days when it's hot.
Those are some great imitations you guys are doing there.
Yes,
That kind of
that's
thing. Which
what
you
it
go,
was.
oh my God, what have I said?
What have I said? And
Yeah.
we said some stuff, is what
Yeah,
we said.
super funny stuff.
You had to be there. You had to be there. You can't. Are you? I mean, I am as equally. I mean, I think I always knew that live would be as successful as it was because, I mean, I remember that first morning, like you said, I was driving in the car and I remember like taking pictures of my phone showing I'm driving in a car and I'm watching this. And then I was in the elevator at the hotel and I'm like, I'm in the elevator and I'm still watching this. Like it was that exciting. But I think I'm as equally impressed that nobody ever, like up to this point, there hasn't been a real bad hot mic. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I mean, I would have bet it, like if you 20 years ago, if somebody said you're going to do this for this long and you're going to, I mean,
oh, we came very close, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, it's like
I think the worst hot mic incident that we had together was actually before Bassmaster Live. It was in the ESPN days, and there was a certain producer that he was a handful, and I was on the set with Tommy, and I had my fill of him, and let it rip. And somebody goes, "Hey, you're live to the truck." I'm like, can't take that back.
that's water under the bridge.
Can't take that back.
Let's
Cannot
move on.
take that back. Yeah.
So you just committed to it.
Well, sadly, he was the person that signed my contract, which in return, I was sitting there and you get that warm feeling where I'm like, well, I just wrapped up my whole career right there. So like Tommy said, let's just move on. Let's move on.
Tommy, how hard was it over the years, or was it hard at all to keep? I mean, Zona is an amazing bundle of energy, but that energy ball bounces around a lot of places. And the amazing thing, and one of my favorite things, is when he gets focused on something, he finds a way to make that something everything. How hard was it over the years to keep the train on the tracks with Z, or did you even try?
that really is like a gift that you get because then you can kind of assert yourself a little bit and say, well, let's take hold that thought, words like that, while we take care of whatever business you have to take care of. It's really, that's the chemistry between you've got to have a sort of a straight person, a setup man, and you've got to have the guy who delivers the goods, who delivers the milk or the mail or however you want to put it. And it's got to be, they can't be the same kind of guy. They cannot be the same kind of guy. One guy, it's just like comedy. You have to straight man and the funny man. The straight man to set the funny man up, and it creates a tension that makes it watchable. I don't know if anybody ever figured out why, but you certainly think of all the things you've ever seen that were two people who kind of worked together. They had that sort of tension and chemistry. So it's really a gift in disguise.
The other gift in disguise, I'll just say it the way it is, Tommy, is you are a gift in disguise because a lot of people, you made the comment, Dave, you just shook your head. You made the comment that I'm demented. Off camera, you're twisted out too pretty well. And what, like Van Damme even said this, is you did through the years together, you started to show a little more of that as the years went on. The problem was a lot of some of your comebacks, they were so intelligent, they blew right by me. And then I would catch it like 5 minutes later. I'm like, what did he just say? Right?
Yeah.
No, but that to me, that was some of the most fun was, this was before Ronnie and Such, is when we had to fill time together. And it was a lot of time. It was a massive, massive amount of time. That was some of the most painful fun of my career. It really was, you know. When you're picking, hey, who do you want to be killed by? Michael Myers, Jason, or Freddy Krueger, you've run out of things to say. You've run out of things to say. Yeah.
Did he ever startle you, Tommy? You know, because Zona is the kind of dude you can hang out with, and out of nowhere he'll start making noises. And sometimes, like,
Oh my
did
God.
anything he ever do? Were you ever like?
Where
I did
he
it a
would
lot.
startle me is these personas, these characters he would take on when we were on location. Back when we'd go to every tournament, and someone would show us up to give us a boat ride, or we'd just encounter somebody at the food truck, or on the side, and he would become this completely different person.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's very
oftentimes
true.
it'd be somebody. Yeah. I know exactly what you're saying, there, buddy. I'm with you all the way. Now, come on, man. We were at the New York State Fair, and we went to the Midway. We had to cross the Midway to get from one place to another, and we stopped at a smoothie place or something like that, and the lady hands it to him, and it's not very appetizing. And she said, "Sir, does it look all right?" I said, "Well, I came here to get a smoothie, but now I think I'm going to be sick to my stomach."
Oh my gosh.
And then take that character and just run rampant with it, till people would just finally they get onto the fact that they're being had a little bit. I think I'm going to be sick to my stomach.
If he was in Hollywood, he'd be a method actor. I mean, he totally commits to it.
Character, right? Yeah. Character, method act, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's not wrong with you, as Tommy. You are the king of like sliding in these. And I see me and you are very similar in the way that we just talk a lot, and you don't always absorb. Like a lot of things, I'll see when I see a playback of it or something. But like, there's so many like brilliant little barbs and moments. Like, what was it, 2 years ago or a year ago when we had Davey Height eat the pig's feet on live? And I'm watching, and Davey's sick to his stomach, which you should be if you've ever looked at a jar of pig's feet. And Tommy reaches right in, grabs one, and then he looks at the thing. He's like, "Oh, are they Big John's?" Oh, I mean, who would even like? It was you. You have some devious brilliance to you.
Yeah,
I'm thankful.
There's a lot of that
You
in
know,
there.
once a ham, always a ham. I'm always looking for the low hanging fruit. You know what I mean?
You say that, but you are never searching for the low hanging fruit. You keep the fruit hanging. And that
Thanks.
sounds bad. That
Yeah.
sounds really, really bad. Zona, you had a lot of names for Tommy over the years. A lot of names.
Oh yeah,
I did. At first, Tommy, I don't think he liked, he actually said that it was one of the only times there was like 2 or 3 times he was very stern with me. One was a phenomenal classic picture of me, Tommy, and Rick Lund, and my wife gave it to the production group and they put it on the Jumbotron. Tommy was so mad at me.
I know what picture. Yeah. I'm still mad.
We were in workout costumes, and I don't know. Somehow the picture leaked out, and it was on a jumbotron. Tommy's so pissed at me.
Oh my God.
So there was one other. So I would call him Timmy Sanchez, T Naughty, and there was one day in studio. Tommy said, and it was very, very, very new working together, and Tommy goes, we were in a break between taping something, and he goes, "Hey, don't do that again, okay?" And I said, "Yeah, not a problem, Timmy."
I probably wasn't serious. Although one time, I will add to that. I was we're at one of these locations, like I'm sitting waiting for people to show up down at in the hotel bar maybe or something like that. I hear a voice behind me using another name he uses for me, but in his own particular accent. This person, you'll recognize him. He'd go, "Sand Patty." You call me Sand Patty, and that would be, of course, Jeff Coble.
Yes,
On all of those nicknames, yeah.
Sand Patty and Sandpiper.
Sandpiper.
So there was a classic. And this was again Birmingham, but we were on the outside set. It was the classic Van Damme one. Jeff Crete was in the anyway. We were up on the set, and the weigh-in was done, and the crowd was leaving, and group of dudes, you could tell that they had been partying pretty good, just start screaming out Sanchez, and Tommy just looks over at me. I'm like, it is what it is at this point. It is what it is.
Can we finally clear one thing up? What the hell is a grebe?
Any animal is a grebe at this point. Like, I can look out my window, Dave. Have I honestly ever seen a grebe in my entire lifetime? I don't think so. But it fits. And what's funny is the cameramen are onto it, where they'll just put the camera on any animal when it's slow. To me, that's a grebe. It is. It's what it is. But it's funny because there's people that actually like comment, they're not onto it, that I have no idea what a grebe is. So
they get mad. People
they
literally get pissed.
Not a grebe.
There it is.
You have seen a grebe. A loon is a grebe. Z. You know what a grebe is. A loon
I
is
do now.
Part of the grebe. Yeah.
I didn't know a loon was
grebe.
A grebe.
Is what a loon is down south. Is a grebe. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen them.
So if I see a loon down south, it's a grebe.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But if I see it up here, it's a loon.
A loon. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Helpful information to a Canadian guy.
Yeah. Thank you. I'd hate to say there's a loon when we're down south. Did you guys ever really get, like, was there ever a moment where you actually got upset with each other?
No.
Really?
Ever?
Never. No. Never.
It's
shocking.
It's just too easy for either one of us to make it sort of collapse into humor, at a moment's notice. I mean, that temptation is too big. Yeah.
The other thing in there, Dave, is there was also a dynamic, at least in my mind, is I always knew, at least I think this now, besides the on camera thing, TV, it's a strange world. It's a weird world to work in. I always knew Tommy off camera. I knew Tommy had my back unconditionally, whether I sucked at work. Did I go to a Motley Crue concert one night and then come to studio the next day once? Yes, I did. I don't think I put on the best performance. But I always knew Tommy had my back. And I unconditionally had his, because I didn't want to work with anybody else. I just didn't. I never. After starting my career in this with Tommy, I never ever, to this day, wanted to work with anybody else ever. So it was a weird trust, at least in my mind.
Yeah, that's the same way I feel about Mark Zona. It's just I'm too spoiled now. I'm ruined. For anybody else, and there are a lot of great people out there, but there's nobody that's in his part of the cosmos, his part of the firmament, because it's just that's the one once in a lifetime deal. Absolutely.
I've said it a lot, and I'm not the only one that said it. A lot of people have said it, that I think you guys are two of the greatest broadcasting tandem that's ever been put together, literally in any sport. I'd love to see you do Monday Night Football. I'd love to see you do the Olympics. I'd love to see you do eating competitions. When you two, you have a unique chemistry that I think not only portrays or relays the information and makes the viewer smarter, but it engages them and also entertains them. What, if you guys could do any sport, other sport, like, let's just throw it out in the universe. Oprah does it. I mean, just say you want it. What would it be? What would you two love to sit in the booth together to do other than fishing?
I think I'd like to sit in the booth and do a golf tournament with Z here, because I know he watches some.
I
especially
do.
when
I
he's
watch.
trying to get
Yes.
some sleep on the couch when he gets some time
Yes.
home on the weekends. But
That's right.
I know he watches it too, and I think he'd be terrific at that. I mean,
I would love that.
The more irreverence, the really good irreverent guys they got rid of in golf over the last 10 years, the Gary McCords and the Johnny Millers and stuff like that, and they need a Mark Zona, and I could feed him the straight stuff. I could be the straight man in that duo.
I would say golf or football, just because I don't play golf, but I watch golf religiously, and I watch football religiously, and with off camera. I mean, hell, before we started this Mercer podcast, all we were talking about was football, and Mike said this too. I'm taking a right hand turn. Maybe that's why a lot of it worked through the years, because every one of us is a nutbag sports fan.
Yeah.
And you always, hey, fishing's a sport. I do think that we have covered it together, all of us, not just me and Tommy. I really believe we've covered it just because we're sports heads. That's all we talk about.
Dave, what sport do you sort of harbor a longing for to work in?
I mean, football would be really cool, just because I'm probably the most obsessed about that. But I think MMA, I would love to.
I was going to say that.
MMA,
Totally.
To do something in it. I mean, I just think it would be cool. I had an opportunity once a few years ago, but and it was like a smaller promotion, but we had an event, so I couldn't do it. But I would like to at some point. I mean, I don't know that I ever would get, but yeah, I mean, I honestly love the job that I have. Like, it is if I didn't have this job and somebody said, "Hey, what do you want?" It would be the job that I have. But I would, or WWE. I mean, that would be.
That's what I thought. The three of us would make a great professional wrestling broadcast team.
Oh,
I mean, I don't.
I love that.
Question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at him just smacking the hell out of that. Giving him his lash.
My nipples just got hard, Tommy. Screw this bass fishing. Let's call up.
Let's go. Let's go.
Mr. McMahon.
Let's go.
I have a proposal.
And Tommy knows this. I did have the opportunity, outside of talking about commentating football, commentating golf, I did have the opportunity. But Dave, you know this. I am out of control with buying and displays of fireworks on July 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. That's my gig. That's my jam, right? I did have the opportunity to be the co-host of the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. Remember that, Tommy?
I do.
And
I watched it.
I turned it down. The year that because I had an unbelievable fireworks display and I did not go to it. And the dude that they had was all business. Like, he called the hot dog eating contest like it was the Masters. And I watched it and I'm like, there is no way I would have called it like that. I would have called it for what it was.
One more wrestling comment, just a little story that I don't know if you two know that I want to share with you. It's about our friend Jerry McKinnis. As a connection to the wrestling game. And the wrestler I'm going to talk about goes maybe too far back for you guys who are younger. But in the early days of the fishing hole being on cable, ESPN, was not as elaborate and didn't have so many contracts with big name sports back then. They were still building up. And so they showed a lot of wrestling. They showed Australian rules football and stuff like that. And plus, there weren't giant big cable conglomerates who controlled everything. It was a lot of mom and pop systems who had to choose whether they were going to buy ESPN or not. So they would send Jerry to set up in a booth at one of these shows that are for pro people shopping for programming for their systems. And they sent him to one up in the Northeast, and he had to spend 3 days in a booth with the honky tonk man.
Yes.
Oh,
you've never told me that.
Shake, rattle, and roll.
That is absolutely true. That is 100% true. Can you imagine walking up to a booth where there's Jerry and the honky tonk man waiting to talk you into buying some ESPN?
I would have preferred that Jerry did it with here's the host of the flower shop, adorable Adrian, or Kamala, the Ugandan headhunter.
Exactly, the Ugandan warrior, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh my God, the honky tonk
the
man.
honky tonk man. He would
He's
go
a-
wild and hit people with his guitar.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
fantastic. Oh my gosh.
yeah. That's a
he's the
true
greatest
story.
intercontinental champion of
Yes.
all time.
That's
Next
exactly
to-
right. That was
You're
what
right.
he billed himself as.
Yes, you're
Shake,
well done.
rattle, and roll.
And roll.
Well
baby.
done. And he would do this. It's so great. Oh my gosh.
The weird thing is, I'm still into wrestling. I use it as an excuse. I say my daughter's into it, but I push her into it. I'll be honest. But so I still follow a lot of dude. The honky tonk still goes to like a bunch of card signing stuff.
Does he really?
And he looks just exactly like you would think. He's got the chops.
The big
Way
chop.
too dark and die.
Yes.
Yeah,
And I'll tell you,
The
like, what
Griffin
was
shoe polish
great.
hair dye. Yeah.
Yes, and that is what, to me, what was great about the honky tonk man is when he'd just batter somebody with that guitar, his hair would turn into like the guy Bill Murray from Kingpin. It'd just be everywhere.
And he'd lay a guy out and grab the guitar again and not really play it, but start strumming it and strutting around like that. You know, it was
Yes, yes, yes,
Oh, dye would start running down his face.
yes.
Oh yeah, no, he. Who was it? Jake the Snake blames. I think it's Jake the Snake, which we got to see in Little Rock one time. But there's like a long-standing his belief that he screwed up his neck, the honky tonk, because he thinks he didn't use the right guitar. He used like a real guitar.
He used a Stratocaster.
Right, a Fender.
Which he most likely did. Jake fishes, so screw you, honky tonk. I'm taking Jake's side on this. Yeah, so we just got to figure out that wrestling gig, and we're all set.
That's right.
Bang.
Maybe, who was the wrestler that we would have at when we go to Hartwell? And he was like the mayor.
Yes.
No, not Hartwell. You're talking about Nashville or
Kane.
Kane.
Knoxville.
Knoxville. Yeah, Mayor Kane.
Kane.
Dude, I swear to you, one of my greatest regrets in life, and this means no sense to anybody. So you guys know I've battled a bad back forever. I got scoliosis, which is a whole other story. But I had said to Kane the first time we were there, when I met him, I was like starstruck because he was the scariest individual alive. When I was a kid, that was like, I mean, the Undertaker's brother that was all burned up. And so super cool guy. I get to meet him, when we went there for the first classic. And I said, if we ever come back here, I said, I want you to choke slam me on the stage.
Go.
And I say a lot of stupid things. This was one of them. But so the classic comes and he remembered, like he right away brought it up. Like he told Lopez and everybody, he's like, tell Mercer I'm going to choke slam him on the stage. So I'm so excited to do this. But at the time, my back was really bad. And I'm like, one of my great regrets is that my back was not well enough to get choke slammed from him, because that would have been a great, great honor. But instead,
nobody's ever said those words before in the history of the human language.
Come on.
My greatest regret is I didn't get choke slammed.
Amen. Amen.
I've been choke slammed, Tommy. Let's not be wrong. Just not by him.
Maybe for another time.
Whoa. Whoa.
You guys both, just through working I know you both do a lot of prep and research going into things. Did you guys ever, you were so seamless. Did you guys just do that independently? Did you, would you ever discuss notes before you went live?
Yeah. And never has Mark Zona showed up without being 100. She makes it look easy, but he's always, he's like a duck, plastered on top, but his feet are pedaling hard as far as the research and the calling people and getting the story before we open our mouths. So my hat's off eternally.
Yeah, that was, and that was more probably just to not let you down more than anything on those tournaments. But I always, as much time as both of us filled and had to fill, really to this day, no matter who sits in Bassmaster Live 10 years from now, 15 years from now, a Bassmaster Elite Series tournament literally comes down to you set the scene, and throughout day one all the way to day four, it's who, where, how, and why. That's it. That's it. Um, and it's up to them. It's up to them if they actually want to give that information to the viewer. And if they don't want to give that information, I'll give what I'm seeing. That's one of the funniest things about anglers that don't want to give a lot of information. If you have remotely any knowledge of tournament bass fishing, you can watch Bassmaster live and have it instantly
Yeah.
of what that angler is doing. Um, that's what my role was just to make sure I knew the nuts and bolts, um, when they thought it would happen, and when I would visually see, wow, he is in trouble, and calling an audible. That's what a fishing tournament is. That's what fishing is.
Because you had talked to him enough the night before to know what his game plan was going to be that day.
Yes.
You could tell when it was going off the rails or when it was working,
Yes. No, like what's funny is, and I would always, to my first day doing Bassmaster Live to my last day, I would always walk in, sit next to Tommy, and we would have quiet time. Um, and I would look at him and always say, "Hey, this angler's in bad shape today," or the exact polar opposite side. This angler's more than likely going to win this tournament. We have said that countless times on a Friday, 3 days before a championship Sunday. You just knew, um, by the game that they had going, or I hate to say it, there was also a lot of blind luck leaders throughout the year. Um, you just knew.
Yeah.
Is there an event that stands out to you guys as the toughest event to do?
There's a few candidates there.
There is some candidates there. There is no doubt about it.
Some of the kind of postseason-y things were sort of
Postseason-y?
hard to hang with, what they call in golf the silly season, when it's just kind of, it's kind of related to points maybe,
but yet not at all.
Not at all. One
Yes.
particular that you were part of, Dave, and the Niagara River comes to mind.
Yeah.
It was nuts. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was a crazy event.
Nuts. A few in Montgomery at the end of the season. There were sort of points.
Alabama River. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sort of some sorcery with points and stuff like that happened there.
Sorcery. Oh my gosh, it's so great. That's what it was.
Maybe that's too strong a word. I don't
know. No, it was. It was. Those were crazy events. No doubt.
What was the easiest event to call?
Oh man. Just about everyone at Lake Fork was,
Yeah, those were
easy.
Because it's like a ticket to the circus, I mean, you get constant entertainment.
Yeah. The Lake Fork tournament, you can look back on the Falcon tournaments. You didn't need to say a word. You did not need to say, just because there's just fireworks. We would always use this reference. There were certain tournaments that were a home run derby. Those are the easiest tournaments. You just kind of sit back and let it ride. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna lie, man. I thought the last tournament of the season last year was one of the most hilarious, entertaining, absurd tournaments that I've ever called with Tom. I was like, wow, this is my final event, and it's one of the most entertaining, fun ones, just because you've got you've got DQs. You got two Canadians that are basically walking in a bank, two outlaws with loaded revolvers, and they're gonna walk away with the bag of loot. No, they're not gonna walk away with one bag of loot. They're gonna walk away with all of it.
All of it.
That was easy. That was an easy tournament to call, and hilarious, to be honest with you.
It definitely had a lot of pieces.
Yeah, it had a lot of pieces.
Yeah.
I always say the coolest thing about getting to do the jobs that we've all been lucky enough to get to do is moments that nobody sees. It's moments that, everybody says, oh, that was cool on stage, that was cool on live, that was cool. None of those moments are what I think anybody will look back and be like, wow, I was lucky to get to do that. I mean, it's cool to be part of something, but I think we'll all look back at those moments that you spend afterwards, or you get to see moments that you would never see that no other human on earth gets to see. So that's what I want to hear from you guys right now. I want each of you to tell me, Zona, tell me something about Tommy, something you've got to see, like a moment, a night out, or whatever. Give me a Tommy story. And Tommy, you'll get to defend yourself after Zona. So
okay, all right.
I'll give you two. One of them
Good.
from my heart. One of them from my heart is you hear coaches like Bill Belichick always say, do your job, which I think as a group, Mercer, you do your job, right? Those mornings of anxiety, whether it's been a classic or just an Elite Series event. I don't want to say just an Elite Series event, because each one of them, I was lucky to sit there, I would always take a few minutes before we go live, and I would look at Tommy, and I knew that dude's going to do his job, and I would give him a fist bump. That meant so much to me, knowing that quarterback right there, he's gonna get the ball rolling. I'll take a handoff here and there. That meant so much to sit next to somebody and know that dude is gonna do his job. Period. No matter if it's tough tournament, a great whatever it is. That meant so much, and was a safety net for hundreds and hundreds of events together. Now, outside of a tournament, Tommy and I would, which I hope we still do, we would go fishing all the time together in Arkansas when we didn't have to do 37 hours of live a day. We would go fishing together. I jumped in Tommy's boat one time. Dave, my boat is my kingdom. It's where I work, and I jumped in Tommy's boat, and you know those in Arkansas, those dirt daubers that get on everything. I looked at Tommy and I'm like, dude, what the hell is wrong with you? What is going on here? He's like, yeah, I just haven't cleaned her up for a while, but I'm gonna get cracking on this as soon as you leave town. Like, I was scared to go in the rod locker that a feral cat might attack me.
A rabid
Okay?
beaver would fly out.
Exactly. But it put things into perspective. Tommy had a very vigorous schedule and was always high and tight. There was one time I got in Tommy's car, and there was a mini baseball bat, a knife, and a half-eaten plate of like pasta.
Now, there was no pasta. You're conflating two different memories there or something. I will say, with regard to the boat, I will say that because Z would come into town, we'd have the time he arrived into town, we didn't have to work till the next day. We would go out to this pond that we had been sort of let in on the lease of. Great little pond to fish in, and I had a small boat, and just so I didn't have to hook up the trail, I would leave the boat out there in the boat, in the boatyard, which was completely encrusted with spider webs,
everything,
and and other people would use it, leave dead brim in the live well and stuff like that. It was just. He's right about that. I have to own up to that. That was the most miserable sort of squalid bass boat you've ever been in your life.
But looking back on it, though, those were some of the most fun fishing days together. To go out together and catch a 7 or 8 pounder. You look back on that now. I mean,
oh man,
my gosh, man, those were the times. Those were it.
That was good stuff. Didn't last for those things. Never last forever, but that was a good place.
So the only thing you defended was that there's no pasta.
Yeah, there was.
There was a knife and a mini baseball bat.
Yeah.
Who doesn't? I think there was a weed whacker and a set of golf clubs in the back of the car.
That's true. That was true. Absolutely true.
Right. He's got to play the front 9 and then do some hedge trimming right after.
Tommy, Give me one of those moments about Z.
Moments about Z. Just one thing. He is consistent. He plays some other characters for if conditions are just right, but he is consistent. And one time, Jerry was nice enough to take us on a fishing trip up to Canada with his friends Harry and Mary, where you'd paddle out and leave civilization. You have nothing. In fact, this is a sidebar, but we had both bought a little tiny, maybe a little bit of something just to have refreshments at the end of the day, a little
elixir
of some sort. And he went through all our bags before we. No, there's no room for any of this stuff. That's no way. That's not going. That's not going. That's not going. And so we were pissed about that. But and then especially pissed about 3 nights later when he's kind of walking by our tent carrying a coffee cup, kind of in the middle of the afternoon. Late afternoon.
The guide
he's taking a little nip for every now and then. And Z says, "What you got in the cup there?" "Oh, that's bourbon." We said, "What?"
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Z was, and I have to admit too, we were both fit to be tied at that moment right there.
We were. What was funny?
Go ahead, Z. Yeah.
So we're out in the bush, and we're out there for 4 days, 5 days, whatever it is, and we were paddling back, and Tommy and I were together paddling back, and I'll never forget this. So we're coming back into civilization, right? Coming back into civilization, and there was like 4 kids on a little bluff rock with a cooler, and you saw they had a 12-pack of beer, and one kid's popping a marb, and I looked at Tommy, I'm like, I'll kill that kid right now for those 2 things.
But the part of the trip that is so Mark Zona to me is that we would split partners we'd be different partners every day, and I was fishing maybe with Mary, his wife. She was in the canoe, and I knew somewhere out there was Mark and Harry there, and it was a thick fog. You could not see really 15 feet, and I'm starting to hear 2 voices. It's unintelligible. But the first thing I heard clearly was Mark Zona's voice saying, "Harry, I swear to God, if you mention the word phytoplankton or biomass one more time, I'm going to smack you in the back of the head with this boat paddle." That's so great.
Oh my gosh, I totally remember.
You remember saying that?
Oh,
you didn't know I heard that.
No, I do. I remember that. Because I remember turning around, I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you even saying to me right now?
Yeah, seriously, if you keep talking, saying this.
Which also makes, I think it was Champlain last year, even funnier, because Zona, you talked about the biomass of fish. So, like, how often, I mean, I think the greatest thing being part of working with you guys is knowing how often there's a joke happening and it literally is for 9 people. Like, it's for,
that's it.
For the crew, for Mike McInnes, for everybody in the truck. Like, nobody else knows what's going on. But there's been a lot of words and a lot of things over the years that literally were just for us.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. And a group of words that if you use them, you were on notice. And when we went to break, the other one would turn to the other. Did you just really say intuitive? Or,
right.
Or habitual or something like, okay. Yes.
Well, you guys have entertained so many people for so many years, and bass fishing, is not the same without you guys together. I think, like everybody celebrated Zona earlier this year, retiring, getting in the Hall of Fame. Tommy, you're already in the Hall of Fame. But you guys as a tandem have a unique and amazing chemistry. And I was at the Hall of Fame, and I listened to Zona's speech, which, dude, as always, you freaking killed it. Like, people should look at your speech on how to write a speech. It had a point, which was really, and it had recall at the end. It was a beautiful speech. But the most beautiful part about it, to me, standing off the side as the MC, was at one point, Zona, you said, "I don't know what, I don't know how, I don't know where, but we're not done." And you pointed to Tommy Sanders. What did that mean?
At the time, I had no idea. I had a thought. Um, what's weird about that speech was for me to get through that, and Tommy and I've talked about this at length. I'm terrified of public speaking. I'm okay if there's a camera, I'm okay doing that, but I'm terrified. So I literally like I kept Tommy was right down here, stage left. I kept talking to Tommy the entire speech and looking at him just as a safety net. But what I meant by that was, yeah, so Bassmaster Live is at least, for the regular season in the past, but I had an idea then that I wanted to do, and I've talked to you about it, Dave. I wanted to do a podcast. I wanted to do a podcast, but something that's not been done, at least in my mind. And I talked with Mike about this, and then I started talking with Tommy about this, is to do a podcast um, together, to do and like I said, even though Bassmaster Live's done for me right now, is I wanted, basically I was just looking for a reason to still work with Tommy, is I guess is what I'm saying. But I wanted to do, um I thought about it at first of maybe doing it alone, and then I was like, I don't want to do that. I just want to work with Tommy, period, end of story. And I remember telling asking Karen one night, and she shook her head yes. And the way at least I see it, it's going to be more. It's going to be on Bassmaster.com. It's going to be, I think, way more of a sport show vibe, um, blending with a podcast together, and just listen. You said it at the top of this podcast, is you're not going to run out of things to talk about in the fishing world right now. I mean, it's almost a daily situation, and for Tommy to accept doing that together means the world to me. I think it'll be something that's fun, that's really not been done before. It may fail miserably. I would expect that, but
It will not.
we'll find our way together. So that there's my take on it.
I
Yeah.
think it has a tremendous potential. I think of one thing, just on the basis of this one thing, we're talking about that tension between one person and another. There, this is now, it's a different setup, a little bit of a different setup. As Z has stepped back from being the commentator, presenter in many senses of the competition that we've covered all this year. He I have to toe a line a little bit. I can't be too partisan. But Z now is free to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable a little bit more.
Well,
Hadn't had that so much latitude before. Not that it's stopped him sometimes, but
y- here's what's the sport of professional bass fishing has always been, for the most part, it's been the accolades of who's catching them. I'm the type of viewer, and I know a bunch of viewers that are on here are the same way. I look at the top of the standings and I look at the bottom of the standings. That's what I do. I don't know why that is. I like to see who really is catching them, and I like to see who really struggle. And I think I personally think that's one of the things that hasn't really, there has always been walking on eggshells when saying, "Hey, this angler had a bad tournament or he had a bad year," because feelings get hurt. Well, dude, this is a sport. And the other side of that is giving an opinion, giving analysis, and the next podcast holding us goofballs that have a million opinions on stuff. I guess in my head, if you watch the show First Things First, that's what I brought up to you, Mercer. If you watch First Things First, they sit there and give absolutely great analysis, nonsensical analysis, and then actually say when they're wrong, when the hosts and the analysts are not correct. I don't think that's been done in fishing that much at all. Um, but it's okay for the angler standpoint. It's okay to take your roses. It's okay to take your roses, but for this to actually be a sport, you have to talk about the guy that threw 5 interceptions. You have to, and I hope we do that in a tasteful, fun, informative way, and also call BS on ourselves. But don't get me wrong. I'm also going to ask Tom. Tommy has amazing opinions on anglers and reasoning of that. Well, Tommy will throw it too. We'll get it all out there.
Yeah, yeah. It's I think it's going to be real interesting, actually. And plus, Dave, I mean, we did a lot of research, a lot of experts researching this, and and the possibility of a podcast, and one clue kept coming up again and again, just like one of these CSI shows or something. And it was that clue that there just aren't enough podcasts in the world. They're so rare. They're so rare. And if you're lucky enough to find one, it's always great. Why wouldn't we jump in?
Tommy, let me give you an awkward silence I got from Mercer a while back, which I rarely get any. So at Bassmaster Live was all done, and I was driving, and Mercer says, "What are you going to do next?" I said, "I'm going to do one of these podcast things," and it just got real quiet.
No, it didn't.
No, it didn't. No,
it did
no.
not. The beautiful thing about a podcast is anybody can do it. The bad thing about a podcast is anyone can do it. So there's a lot of podcasts, but there's not a lot of. I mean, you guys are going to deliver something different. I mean, I've always said, do you two get together and start talking about stuff, and your podcast is going to be wonderful. Trust me. And you'll see it in the comments of this show, the amount of people that are excited to know that you guys are going to be back together and doing things. So let's just say, I mean, am I jumping too far? Like if I was more professional, I would have mentioned this beforehand. But why don't you just take like one of the most recent topics that's going on in the sport, whatever one you want to choose, pull from a bucket and give me 2 minutes of the TNZ show right here on the Mercer Podcast.
Go ahead, Tommy. Tee it up. Let's go.
Tee it up for you.
Whatever topic you want.
Yeah, whatever topic you want.
Whatever topic you want.
There's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, how about?
There's a lot.
There's a lot. What's the most recent one? I guess it's the announcement that there's not going to be entry fees anymore.
You're exactly right.
It would meet with universal open arms, but we know better than to expect things like that, right?
Taking a look
at with open arms in this sport.
Well, I mean, if you really look at the revised payout, it kind of just brings me to talking about Ben Milliken, Tommy, and that's what I would take.
Real recent. Okay,
so I mean, look, those are all the things that we'll talk about. I mean, it's obvious. Hell, I've talked to Ben a bunch since Saturday. Those are things that we'll talk about and hopefully shed some light. And if you want to get right into the in all honesty, I've thought about the payout situation and looking at the revised one that they did. I do mean this. If you are a rookie, Tommy, if I'm a 30-year-old, when we first met each other, right? You have to be licking your chops to fish the Elite Series without that enormous loom of terror.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You are not going to have that cocoon of Hawa at all your first year for the simple fact, you got a 10 grand shooter. You got a 10 grand shooter to get the plane off the ground. And I'm not saying this I'm saying it for any of the rookies that might not be a silver spoon. They might not have, a bunch of credit cards that were given to them. You have got to be licking your chops to be a Bassmaster Elite Series professional and be able to fish free. To me, that is the best thing about the revive. Are we doing this right now, Dave? We're doing it, aren't we?
I'm sitting on the edge of my seat. I love this show. Keep it going.
Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, but let's go to the other end of the age and experience and achievements spectrum. there if you want to. I mean, what do you think if you're there and you have done your due diligence, you put together a career paying your way all the way through, and then all of a sudden, the world has changed, and some of the funding maybe you've been getting has been in the form of in lieu of having to pay your own way, and somehow that may not be there anymore, since you don't have to pay entry fees anymore. What, on that side of the spectrum, what goes through your mind?
Okay, so you've got two groups that I think this favors. Okay, rookies or folks that are kind of at the bottom of the standings. Okay, and then the headhunters, the guys that are perennial. I am here for only one place to finish, and that is first place and win $100,000. Now, here's the problem in there. A lot of the voices come from the majority. The majority in the fishing world, I'm not talking the Elite Series, I'm talking a Tuesday night tournament, a weekend tournament, all the way up to the Bassmaster Elite Series. The mass majority of fishermen are, what is it going to take to get a check? What is it going to take to get a check? Not, we do that goofy thing, hey, what's it going to take to win? The majority of people that when they do that photo gallery on Bassmaster.com, they're not thinking about what it's going to take to win. They're thinking about what it's going to take to cash a check. Well, that's where everything exploded. Well, I'm going to win $500 if I cash a check. And that's where the revision came through, because that always has been the majority of the field wants to be in, boom, 40th place, 50th place, get my check, get my points, and get the hell out of town to the next one. And that's why that revision happened. The other side of that is if this is just the start, okay? If this is just the start, the biggest problem to get into professional bass fishing is the nut that it takes to get to the poker table.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it is. Without having that terror and fear, I think you will see a lot more fishermen. This is my opinion. I think you'll see a lot more fishermen not fighting for their shooter, for their entry fee, and actually fighting to win events. I think guys this year, next year, and the years to come, if we stay in this format, guys that may not have previously won an Elite Series tournament by playing it safe, get my entry fee back, I think you'll see them go for it more. And I think you'll end up seeing guys that maybe we did not see winning events contending and actually winning tournaments.
Good point. There you go, David.
The TNZ show coming to your life. When does this start? When does this show start?
Tommy, what do we got going there?
I don't know. January? I don't know. Like that. I'm thinking about the WWE schedule right now, but yeah. That's I think it's in January. I think we're looking to roll one out in late January or early February.
Early February, probably right before.
Yeah.
Yep, right before the first Elite Series tournament, and then we'll probably do it every 2 weeks, or we'll try to. We definitely want to get traction, obviously, where we have a somewhat of a legitimate schedule. But like I said, there will be a lot of, I think there will be a lot of, pundit picking and choosing. But I want to also circle back of when we suck, which will be often. It'll be often, Dave.
Yeah, that's the one hurdle we see out there is apparently with these podcasts, you're supposed to not suck. So we got to figure a workaround for that.
Yeah.
Right.
You guys have figured how to not suck a lot. Z, though, I have to go back to something you said just moments ago that I have to ask you, because if I don't, I'll get railed for it, because these fine viewers are educated viewers, and they heard you say, while Bass Live is done for the regular season, what does that mean?
I don't think I said that.
You 100% said it. I heard it.
I think
I have focused on nothing since you said it.
I think there's a potential that maybe I could jump on the set for 11 minutes or 6 hours with Tommy and the gang at the classic. So if that all comes together, I would love to, obviously love to still be with the group at the Bassmaster Classic. I think that'd be awesome. Yeah,
that would be awesome.
I build this as the show that keeps on giving. It's the gift that keeps on giving. You guys are back doing a podcast. Everybody, make sure to support this. We'll talk about it before the first episode. I'm sure we'll promote it because the world needs it. And if I heard right, maybe you're going to hear the deep voice of Z-Train on the Bassmaster Classic. How happy does that make you, Tommy Sanders?
It makes me very happy. I'm ecstatic about it, obviously, and why wouldn't I be? How crazy would it be not to be? That's
awesome.
That's just, of course I am.
Well, lots of fun ahead. I thank you both for doing this, for taking the time to do this. It's become a tradition, though, that we have Tommy on. Before we get into the final tradition, we also celebrate Festivus. We're one of its airing of the grievances. Any grievances you guys want to air about anything? Cleansing of the palate?
No, I am good.
Saving that for the show.
I may have to play him in fantasy this weekend for a big boost in the end of the season.
Let's go.
Yeah, in the two different leagues, and you might be paying me.
Ask you this, Dave. Before we get to the traditional closing of the Christmas week show, can you and Z take it for 1 minute while I go get my charger cable? I had to move it the last minute.
100%. 100%.
Go on now.
Yeah.
Go now.
All right.
Go on.
Hey, one of the cool things I give Bassmaster really a thanks again. They've given me, I said this at the Hall of Fame. They've given me a unbelievable opportunity sitting in the chair next to Tommy, and for them to roll the dice on the TNZ podcast, TNZ podcast, it for them to, that's where it's going to live, is on bassmaster.com. Then I'm sure they'll disperse it to the world, the podcast world, wherever that goes. Where that goes. That's a great opportunity. I'm very, very excited for that. So very cool.
I'm still shocked at the fact that Tommy thought this show was professional enough that him ducking out is a problem. I mean,
I love it. He's in the dressing room too. I could see he's in the dressing room. That's so great. So really, I was retired from Bassmaster for 37 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's in essence kind of what happened. So
yeah,
it's worked out good.
Brady-esque almost.
No, it's kind of, actually. I remember you made a comment. It was a year or two ago. You said you're going to figure out a way to just do the classic. Well, we're chipping away.
You friggin' did it! It's unbelievable. See, I mean, and I was half joking, but I believed. If anybody could figure out, it is you.
I actually, when you said it, I'm like, damn, that is a good one. That's an amazing thought right there.
I mean, it just makes it more special. It makes it like Christmas. I mean,
there you go.
It only happens every once in a while. I'm glad you're going to be part of it.
Hey, the other thing is, and I mean that, it was time. It was time. You know that. It was...
Why?
Hard to explain, just hard to explain, but it was just time. It was time to leave that, but I didn't want, I didn't want to leave Tommy. That's what it comes down to. It was just time. There was a lot of other things in my head. Why? You and I've talked about that, so it's all good.
Well, before we get into this final thing, I got one big question for you guys. I can't believe I didn't ask it for now. And I really want your honest opinion on this. Is it the excessive entry fees last year and the expensive forward-facing sonar? Is that the reason Ben Milliken didn't buy a fishing license?
Wow. You have sleuthed it out, Dave. You're the master detective.
Have you ever thought that Milliken possibly did this on purpose just for more clicks?
See, if I would do stuff like this show would be so much better. I mean, it seems to be working out. There's people making videos like that. I mean, I would like somebody to make put the numbers together. Like, how many clicks did that get this weekend?
Oh my God.
Because there's people are showing up on my feed that I didn't even know had a podcast, and they're just like, "Oh, breaking news!" It's wild. Yeah. It's wild.
He'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Oh,
he'll be just fine.
Yeah. He'll be fine. Okay, this is one of those awkward moments you promised. See,
let's go.
But let's bring it back because it is Christmas, and as I've always told Tommy, I would love to hear him read anything to me, and a gift that he's given this show. I think maybe the last 2 years is he not sang? I mean, you can if you wish. I mean, I want you to stretch your theatrical prowess during this performance. I mean, because
I will.
I mean, you've brought it before, but levels to stuff, and I know that we're just going to keep on climbing. But I would like to present the one Tommy Sanders with a reading of The Night Before Christmas.
'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were all nestled snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mama in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from the bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash. The moon, on the crest of the new-fallen snow, gave a luster of midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer, with a little old driver so lively and quick I knew in a moment it must be St. Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donder and Blitzen, onto the top of the porch, to the top of the wall. Now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet an obstacle, mount to the sky, so up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys and St. Nicholas too. And then a twinkling, I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur, from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler, just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard of his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke had encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a round little belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him, ha! In spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon he gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk, and laying his finger aside of his nose, giving a nod up the chimney, he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, and his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim, ere he rode out of sight, "Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night."
Let's give it up. Let's give it up.
Actually, the name of that is a visit from St. Nicholas. It's not the night before Christmas. Just a really fun fact there.
Wow. That would have literally taken me the better side of 10 hours to get that correct. And I'm hoping you give Tommy a longer read the next time we're on together.
We'll read the entire Charles Dickens Christmas Carol next time, Dave. It'll be great. I'll play Tiny Tim and Bob Cratchit.
It's awesome.
I mean, it's a gift to the. To be honest, it's selfish. I literally, through the whole way through that, I kept looking at Tommy, and I kept looking at Zona, and I kept thinking, like, how in the world is Mark Zona and Dave Mercer getting Tommy Sanders to read the night before Christmas?
No idea. No idea. Well done.
What's known as
Well
an
done.
incurable ham.
Oh,
Well done.
You can't.
Love it. Love it.
Well, you've made many people's Christmases better, and I thank you for that. And I can't wait to see the TNZ show. And yeah, I got nothing else. Merry Christmas, boys.
Merry Christmas.
You're the
Dave.
best, Dave. Thank you.
Love you guys.
Love you.
What a way to end the festive special with the almighty Tommy Sanders reading. What do you call it? I mean, Night Before Christmas. Whatever. It's something else, but Tommy's much more educated than I. A great show, two great guests, and great news. TNZ is coming to your life. Those two will be back together on Bassmaster.com starting mid-February. TNZ, they've told me some of the plans for the show, and it's going to be really, really cool. I am excited about it as a friend. I'm excited about it as a fan, and I know a lot of you guys are excited. Another exciting thing that was revealed during today's show, if you weren't paying attention, Mark Zona admitted that he's going to be on the mic at the Bassmaster Classic. He will be part of Bass Live. I'm sure all those details, like when and how often or what, that'll all be released in the coming year. But it is a good thing to go into Christmas and the new year knowing that those two are back in our lives. And Mark Zona is back on Bass Live. It's like the mob, really. He tried to leave, but we pulled him back in. And with good reason, because we love listening to you pontificate about bass fishing. Make sure to support the contest. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Win that $500 mega pack. Include humpers in your comment. Humper or humpers, whichever direction you want to go is fine. Make sure that's included in your comments, and we will pick a random winner at our first show, January 1st. The bonus prize for our streamers, whether you're listening to Spotify, Apple, or any streaming service, make sure to leave a review, rate the show, put humpers in your comment, and we will do a bonus prize there. Wherever you're watching, we're trying to make your Christmas a little merrier. And Tommy and Zona just made, well, not just my Christmas, but 2025 a whole lot merrier for me. Thank you guys for spending all the time that you guys have spent on this show in 2024. It was an incredible season, and we got some incredible stuff planned for 2025. Some new and exciting things that we'll be doing on this podcast. Maybe, well, let's not get into that. Residencies seem to be really taking off, huh? On podcasts, it seems to be a thing. I shouldn't. I did, but I shouldn't. I hope you all have a very, very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Oh, new shows coming out. Facts of Fishing back in your life. Obviously, during that break, we're going to talk a bunch about that when I come back on January 1st. Keep your eyes out for the first episodes of Facts Fishing, the first episodes of Zona's Awesome Fishing Show. KVD's show's coming out. The Kevin Van Dam Experience. The Van Dam Experience, sorry. Check those out. Enjoy the festive season. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Enjoy being, and as always, Bob Cobb, take it away.
Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, because Bob Cobb of the Bassmasters told you to. You hear?